Was that the Bite of 87?
Yep, I just saw the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and before I talk about what I thought, I should say I'm not exactly what you would call a fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. I have not played any of the games. I've watched a handful of Let's Plays and lore videos, but other than that, my knowledge of the series is very limited. And I feel like this is important to bring up because if you have seen the reception this movie has been getting, critics have been ripping it apart. They have not been enjoying it, whereas fans absolutely love it. They have been praising the hell out of this movie, and personally, I think I side more with the critics on this. I did not think this movie was very good. It's not bad. There are plenty of good stuff in it, but as a whole, I didn't enjoy it very much. Much like the games, the story centers around a guy named Mike, although unlike the games, there's actually a reason for him taking this job. He has to take care of his little sister, Abby, because both of their parents have died. So initially he starts out as a security guard at a mall, but due to a misunderstanding involving a father and his kid, who he thought he was kidnapping the kid, he winds up going to a career counselor or whatever, who suggests he takes a nighttime security shift at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese-style pizza place that closed back in the 80s, and his main job is to just sit in there and watch security cameras and keep everyone from breaking in, and also keep an eye on the animatronic robots, which are obviously the main point of the movie. You know, you have Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie the Rabbit, Chica the Chicken, and Foxy the Pirate Fox. And initially, he's hesitant to take this job, but he ends up going through with it because his aunt is threatening to sue to try and take custody of his sister, but it's very clear she's not going to take very good care of him. She just wants, like, government money or whatever. So first we'll start with the positives of this movie. Without a doubt, the best thing about this movie, the animatronics. Not only do they look very well designed, they look just like the games, and yes, they are real animatronics, they're not CG. I believe the Jim Henson Company was involved with this, and you can tell because the puppetry on them is fantastic. They look very on point. They're both kind of funny, but also kind of creepy, and not full-on scary, but they're definitely an uncanny valley to them that can make them a little unsettling, and the way they move and act and stuff, it is all very well done. And the other thing really good about this movie is the acting. Like, every single person in this movie is legitimately trying to make this seem compelling and stuff, and I really appreciate that. While the story is mildly interesting, it's also a little messy because there's basically 4 different plot points going on at once. You've got him working as a security guard, you got him trying to take care of his sister and bond with her, and that I legitimately like. You can believe he and his sister have a strange but still very likable relationship. But then you've also got this subplot where he's taking, like, sleeping pills, and in his dreams is, like, reliving a memory of his younger brother being kidnapped when he was just a kid. So, yeah. There's that. And then you've also, of course, got, if you know anything about Five Nights at Freddy's, you know the real plot is serial killer murdered children in the pizza place, and now their souls appear to be haunting the animatronics. And yeah, I guess spoiler, but again, if you know anything about Five Nights at Freddy's and basic stuff, you know that's definitely where it's gonna go. And this leads into, without a doubt, my biggest problem with the movie, its pacing. There is a scene about 30-40 minutes into the movie, or say. This movie does take place over the course of 5 nights, and this is on night 3. Again, mild spoilers, but I feel like I need to say this to make my point, where the aunt sends, like, some teenage delinquents to break into Freddy Fazbear's and trash the place to make Mike look bad so he'll get fired, but when they do, that is when the animatronics finally come to life and, like, start attacking them. We got little hints about that earlier on, but this is when we finally see them actually do stuff, and it's kind of like the game, where they're going after people, killing them and stuff, and it's kind of creepy, but it is also kind of funny. Like, it is a very entertaining moment, and I was willing to put up with, like, the slow pacing of the early parts of the movie, because this was when I was like, okay, here we go, the movie's finally getting going now, and it was very enjoyable. There's just one teensy tiny little problem. That is literally the only scene in the movie where the animatronics actually do that kind of stuff. The rest of the movie is not about that at all. It is mostly just talking about, like, the backstory of the pizza place and the missing kids and stuff. Mike meets this security guard named Vanessa, who I believe is supposed to be the security guard from the game Security Breach. Again, I'm not entirely certain. And she tells him about, like, the backstory of the place and the missing kids and stuff. And he tells her about his missing brother, and that becomes the main focal point of the movie. So like the animatronics, honestly, don't really do that much. The best comparison I can think of is if you ever saw the 2014 Godzilla movie, a lot of people said the same thing where it wasn't a bad movie, but Godzilla was barely in it and that's what they were mainly going for. That's how I feel about this movie, is like, there is good stuff in it, but the animatronics are the main thing I am going to see, and they barely do anything. There's that one scene about 40 minutes in, then they're pretty much do nothing until the climax, aside from a couple of parts where we find out that, again, mild spoilers, Abby is somehow friends with them. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but either way, that just means they're not really, like, killing people or anything, so they're not really much of a threat. I can understand why they didn't make the whole movie just, you know, watching the cameras for the animatronics and stuff. That would have been very dull, but I feel like just one or two more scenes of the animatronics, like, going after people, I think I would have at least say I enjoyed this movie enough. I wasn't expecting high art from this movie, but I was at least expecting kind of a fun time, but for the most part, I just found it kind of dull and boring. But thankfully, the climax of the movie, much like the previous scene, is fairly entertaining. I won't give too much away, though. Again, if you know anything about Five Nights at Freddy's, you probably know, at least have an idea of what happens. That's when we get, like, the full explanation, although the one thing I didn't really like it is there's... Again, won't give too much away, but basically we do kind of a third act breakup between Mike and Vanessa where she gets, like, really angry at him, and that felt a little forced. I feel like there are some other ways he could have written around that, but I don't know. That felt kind of pointless to me, because they resolve it very quickly. And another quick, mild spoiler, the animatronics, even during the climax, he takes them out fairly easily, and you know how most horror movies, they knock out the killer, but then they get back up and they start coming after him again? That doesn't really happen here. He knocks them out, and they're pretty much out of commission for a decent portion until, like, right at the very end. And they even throw in what is supposed to be a plot twist. Again, I won't spoil what it is, but genuinely, I didn't even know it was supposed to be a plot twist until I was looking up stuff, and I was like, oh wait, that was supposed to be that? Again, I can't really give it away, but either way, there is a plot twist that is supposed to be, like, a shocking reveal that I honestly didn't realize. But here's the thing, I've seen a lot of people say they really enjoyed this movie, and I think I can understand why, because the audience I went to see it, most of them seemed to have a good time. There were exactly 3 moments where the audience cheered. There was the scene where the animatronics come to life, you know, 40 minutes in. There was a certain cameo. There are a handful of YouTuber cameos. You can probably guess at least one of them. And ironically, that one didn't get a lot of applause, but there was another one that did. And then right at the very end, everyone was clapping. So clearly people were having a good time, but I think you need to have certain expectations and be a certain type of fan to really enjoy this movie. Although I say that because there's actually one piece of lore that they changed from the game, and someone actually went, boo! So that was very amusing, but the way I see it, if you're going in to see the animatronics, you know, come to life and do creepy but funny stuff and kill people, like most of the critics probably are, and like I was, you're probably not going to enjoy this movie very much. But if you're a diehard Five Nights at Freddy's fan whose favorite part is, like, dissecting all the lore and meaning behind everything, I think you're probably going to at least enjoy this movie fine enough. So I'm glad people are enjoying this movie, but personally, it didn't really do that much for me. Again, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't that great either. Five Nights at Freddy's earns a 4 out of 10.